We got some breaking news for you this morning. We have a new strike that may impact your new truck production and SUVs as well. Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. Been covering strikes for a few years now, especially from last fall's UAW strike against the Big Three. Now we have a strike coming out, well, out of left field for me. And this happens to impact the ports in the East Coast and Gulf states. And this could have a big impact on new trucks getting productions. And here's why. I have a story for you over at pickuptrucktalk.com. And I wrote it up because I want to get one story together. There's lots of pieces. I read through like 6 different stories this morning, read through Union on posts on Facebook, and trying to put together a complete picture for you. So as we scroll down, we can see port strike threatens new truck production delays, SUVs too, and we have a gentleman building a new vehicle. And the ports are in the East Coast and Gulf states. So the strike started last night or 12:01 a.m. this morning, Tuesday, October 1st, or September 30th, depending how you want to look at it. It affects 85,000 port workers at 14 major ports. Now, that is according to the union. That's after last negotiations with the United States Maritime Alliance Employer Group, USMX for short, fell through. The ports where the strike preparation had been underway are Boston, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Wilmington, North Carolina, Baltimore, Norfolk, Virginia, Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, Jacksonville, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Miami, New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, and Houston. They had been ramping up trying to get these cargo containers shipped off as fast as they could because they knew a strike was looming. This is the largest port strike since 1977. It's an impasse over pay between the groups, according to the USMX. But I have more details for you, more information on what the impasse is. So the top U.S. companies exposed to the impending strike. This was a chart that was created on CNBC, and we have things you would think of like Walmart, IKEA, Samsung, Bob's Discount Furniture. I'm sure that guy got way up the list. LG, Home Depot, but then we have Continental Tire, Hyundai, Dollar General, General Motors, Amazon, Folgers, Rainworth Furniture Company, Goodyear Tire and Rubber, Michelin. So looking at tires, you have tires, you have Goodyear, Michelin, Continental, you have General Motors, and then you have Hyundai. Though these are the top companies being impacted. Other companies can be impacted as well as they import parts from overseas or they run out of tires. Maybe you have a special tire on your truck, or it could be delays on that. So the USMX said in a statement that it offered hike wages by nearly 50% and traded new proposals in the last 24 hours, asked for extension on the current master contract. That contract lasts 6 years, according to the International Longshore Union Association. The strike could result in billions of lost revenue with items like fresh produce, riding and cargo ships, and major impacts in supply chains. The supply chains, again, you've heard this keyword bingo here the last couple of years. Supply chains could be impacted by part shortages at U.S. automotive factories. Shipping giant Maersk told CNBC a strike of just 1 week could take 4 to 6 weeks to unravel, and then you do that supply chain and the rest of the supply chain. So you're looking at delay. So if you have a part coming from say France, that's Michelin tire. By the time it gets unloaded, you're 4 to 6 weeks behind that, and then you got to get that to the factory. And what happened during the last time we had a big strike was these transportation companies, they shifted to transporting other goods. So it took a while for automotive to take back, have a key role in shipping, and like say railways. Railroad companies switched to doing cargo they could make money on and didn't save any space for automotive. So that caused even further delays. There's just latest disruption in the supply chain. Right now we have pirates attacking ships in the Red Sea. It's been an ongoing issue. A lengthy drought at the Panama Canal. Didn't know that one. And then we had that Baltimore bridge collapse, which claimed lives of several people working on the bridge, unfortunately. And that caused quite a bit of disruption in the supply chain. West Coast ports are also affected. I was thinking, like, well, what happens West Coast? West Coast ports are also affected, with more cargo now heading for them, causing more cost to shipping companies, as well as more congestion in those ports. As a result, increased containers, CNBC reported, rail congestion out of the Port of Los Angeles is building up. Now, Port of Los Angeles, Port of Long Beach, some of the busiest ports in the world. In a recent advisory to clients, HLS Shipping wrote rail container dwell times at some U.S. port terminals are close to double what they were this summer amid booming imports. So East Coast and Gulf states quit taking shipments. Ships up to the West Coast. West Coast is already booming, and they're going to be more congestion in those ports, which makes parts even more delayed. So even if say Kia or Subaru or Mazda or Ford or Stellantis wasn't impacted by this, they could be as more disruptions happen in the supply chain, more domino effect happens. So how will this cause new truck production delays? We've talked about this, where if you miss a part, something changes in the supply chain that push things back, and that really factors these days because automotive manufacturing works on a just-in-time principle. So they have the truck go down the line, the part meets it, put on the part, and you keep going. If you don't have that, a lot of times they have what's called near builds. Near builds are where the vehicle isn't quite done yet, and so they don't put all the parts on it. They go ahead and park it in a big parking lot. We see news stories on this all the time. Look at all these Ford trucks parked over here. Look at all these Ram trucks parked. Look at the GM trucks. You see all these big areas with trucks are parked. Also, if you visit the plants, like I did in 2022, you saw that when I talked in the video that there was trucks like staged all over the place. Any place they could put them, they put a truck somewhere. And what they do is they try to go later on and retrofit these and ship them out. However, as often the case in manufacturing, they got to keep that production line going. And so you have this constant battle between retrofitting the ones in the parking lot and then just building new ones. And what happened back then, if you recall, is GM, Ford, Slants, everybody started shipping trucks missing key parts. So mine didn't have the wireless charger. I later installed it myself, but there was also people didn't get heated steering wheels, heated seats, one key fob in traditional two. I mean, small items, yeah, big items. I don't know. For somebody who's spending that much money on a truck, I kind of want all the features. Then I have to add it to myself later, and I got like a $50 credit for some of the stuff. There was a really interesting games going on because we had a bunch of semiconductor chips shortages. So looking at more than just pay affecting the strike. So the union president, Harold Daggett, is to the right. That's the guy with the goatee. And it had an interesting quote on their Facebook page. Okay. And what they want talking about quite a bit here is I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is quite long. Automation. So they're concerned about automation at the ports. And he says, for instance, when the big three automakers decided to install robotic welders, painters, upholsterers, machinists, assemblers, and countless other robots in production, there was a false pretense and promises that would remember this quote, save the consumer money. However, you're looking at the marketplace right now, and automotive has increased pricing on vehicles. So more robots didn't cut costs is the point of this. And so looking at different, he's talking about the corporate executives getting richer and getting more rewarded for all this kind of stuff. And he's fighting for his boss, getting attacked by the media. Now, Union President Harold Daggett responded saying, "Thank you for this, looking at stuff." But he's interesting quote here. He said, "They just raised the price of $30,000 per container to ship a full load. And sometimes they put two containers to ship. So they get 62 customers in a container. So they get $60,000. His thing is they don't care about us. They keep raising prices and they keep screwing over the Longshore Union." Now, he went further on in the statement. And he talked about USMX brought on this strike when they decided to hold firm to foreign-owned ocean carriers, earning billion-dollar profits to United States ports, but not compensate the American longshore workers who perform the labors that bring them their wealth. He says, "We are prepared to fight as long as necessary to stay on strike for whatever period of time it takes to get the wages and protections against automation our ILA members deserve." So you got a lot of stuff going on here. We have a big port strike, largest since 1977, could cost billions in the economy. You have production delays that are probably going to happen as this strike lingers on. Disruptions in the supply chain. We're going to see this not today, not tomorrow, but we could see this in months to come. You could be waiting for your truck a little bit longer, depending on how long the strike takes. You have them discussing problems over pay. And I theorize there's probably some discussions over healthcare and vacation time, which is very typical in these union disputes. And then you have the automation discussion, right? So as I've been in different plants, I've seen more and more robots, especially in automotive. When I've talked to the plant managers about that, they've all pointed to the fact they can't get employees. So plant managers, for example, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, he told me, he goes, "We can't get employees. I wish I could, but I can't hire enough. So we're taking robots to replace those." We saw the same thing at Bilstein. However, that doesn't reduce costs for consumers, according to the ILA. So now you're losing jobs. You're not saving costs. What's the deal? We're having this interesting argument and fight going on right now between automation and union workers, and how two different sides see the same subject. So interesting details. I've been following this a little bit last night, followed it all day this morning. Want to get the details out to you because if you're waiting for a new truck like I am with my new Ram RHO, that hopefully is in production, hopefully it has all the parts it needs. I'm hoping to get that before more delays happen. So if you have a Ram RHO on order and you haven't got a production update, or you have other trucks you're planning on buying this year, I would go ahead and place those orders now if you can. because I'm not sure how this is going to shake out. Hopefully, nothing happens. This is a whole nothing burger, but I theorize this could have major impacts to the overall US economy. Billions of dollars each day. That's huge. For more stuff to watch, check them out over here. Website down below is pickuptrucktalk.com. I'll post that link to the story down there. I constantly add details to stories as they go live just because new details come in. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.